In times of powerful empires and kings seeking to consolidate their authority, Babylon rose as a nation of splendor and fear. Amid majestic palaces and bustling streets filled with commerce, lived Daniel, a son of Judah, taken to Babylon at a young age. His character was incorruptible, his mind sharp, and his heart fully devoted to God. From an early age, he stood out among the kingdom's officials, recognized not only for his wisdom and discernment, but above all, for his unwavering faithfulness to the Lord. King Darius, young and just, trusted Daniel completely and promoted him above all other governors and officials. But this trust sparked envy among some of the king's advisors. They watched Daniel, studied his habits, and observed his devotion to the God of Israel. The faith that guided Daniel cast a shadow over their ambitions, and soon they devised a plan to destroy him. They presented the king with an apparently formal decree. Any man who prayed to any god or human other than the king himself for 30 days will be thrown into the lion's den. Darius signed the decree, believing he was strengthening his authority, unaware that he had fallen into a trap. When Daniel learned of the law, he did not hesitate. He continued his daily prayers 3 times a day at his window facing Jerusalem, opening his heart to the Lord with every word and gesture of reverence. He knew that each prayer could cost him his life, but his trust in God outweighed the fear of death. When the envious officials saw Daniel bowing in prayer, they ran immediately to the king to denounce him. Darius, deeply distressed, realized he had signed a decree he could not revoke. His heart ached. He loved Daniel and knew that his life was in God's hands. "May the God of Daniel protect him," the king murmured, his voice heavy with concern, aware that only the Lord could save this righteous man. Daniel was then thrown into the lion's den. The stone sealing the entrance sounded like a tolling bell of condemnation. Fierce roars echoed through the walls, and the air felt heavy, filled with fear and the premonition of death. But Daniel, serene, closed his eyes and lifted his silent prayer. He felt God's presence surrounding him, an invisible and powerful protection. An angel of the Lord, sent to protect him, positioned itself between him and the lions. Even hungry and ferocious, they dared not touch the faithful servant. Throughout the night, Daniel remained steadfast, enveloped by a supernatural light emanating from the throne of the Most High. Each roar that broke the silence was subdued by divine power, and the dark den became a space of hope and faith. Daniel prayed, trusted, and felt God's presence while recalling the promises made to his people, the faithfulness of his ancestors, and the Lord's eternal care for those who serve him. At dawn, Darius ran to the den, anxious and with a heavy heart. "Daniel, servant of the living God, are you alive?" the king cried, fearing the tragedy. And the answer came clear and firm. "My God sent his angel, and the lions have not touched me." The king's heart filled with awe and reverence. He recognized that this God was greater than all human powers, greater than any law written by human hands. The conspirators who plotted against Daniel were then thrown into the same den. This time, the lions were not restrained. Divine judgment was fulfilled, and the men who sought to destroy the righteous were consumed by a force that could not be contained. Daniel, however, was elevated above all, promoted and honored, becoming an eternal example of fidelity, courage, and justice. Even after being saved, Daniel remained steadfast in his faith. He knew that intrigues and dangers still surrounded the kingdom, but understood that God is refuge and fortress. Looking toward the horizon, contemplating Babylon in all its grandeur, he understood that true strength does not lie in armies, decrees, or human thrones, but in complete trust in the Lord. And thus his story became a beacon of hope and faith, a reminder that even in the darkest shadows, God sees, protects, and fulfills his promises, keeping the faithful secure and sustained, while divine justice endures forever.